This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I am Steve Gould. Thank you for joining us, everybody. This is going to be another international episode, which I'm so excited about. I was contacted actually by one German police officer referencing me to another German police officer. So I'm very excited to have him. It sounds like he's done, I don't know if he's done police work, but he's done some ride-alongs in the U.S. He's certainly studied the differences between U.S. policing and German policing. I think he came over here and did some studying and some ride-alongs with Cobb County in Georgia. I know he started his training in 2011 and finished it in 2014, because this sounds like Germany's one of those countries that has like a police college, more or less. So it's a lot of schooling before you actually get to hit the road. So his name is Jan, and he works for one of the state agencies in Germany. I believe there's, from what I read, there's 16 states in Germany under their federal government. I believe this is all Wikipedia knowledge. And I think each one has their own police department. I don't know. It might just be a national police department divided in amongst the states, but that's neither here nor there, because Jan can certainly answer all these questions. I can't wait to ask him about the differences, about training, and just policing in general. I'll of course ask him about his most intense moments and see what he's got to say. So without further ado, I'm gonna dial him up right now. It's noon here, so I think it's 9 at night there. So let me just shoot him a chat to let him know, and I will dial him in.
Hello.
JD, welcome to Things Police See, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Steven. Nice to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I'm so excited to have someone, another person across the pond, to come on the show and talk about police work internationally, if you know what I mean.
That's the beauty of the internet, man. It's just, the exchanges between police are much, much easier than they used to be, I guess. I mean, I'm not that old myself, but it must have been harder.
Oh,
back
yeah.
then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And this is, like you said, the technology's wild, man. I can't believe it. It's 9:00 over there. We are super far apart. And you're coming in loud and clear. So that's awesome. You are a police officer, and forgive me for being naive, Jan, for my knowledge of other countries. It's an American trade. I'm sure you're used to it. You guys have 16 states or provinces over there, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and so you are a police officer for one of these provinces?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. We have the way the system works in Germany is we have these the 16 states, basically, and each state employs the police on a statewide basis. So you're not employed by the city or the county or whatever, as it is in the states. You're employed by your state. And in addition to that, we have what's called the federal police. I would say the equivalent in the states is the Customs and Border Protection.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're in charge of the airports and just the borders in general, train stations, that kind of thing.
Got it. You guys must think it's funny, because talking to Canadians and then British police, it's like, it seems like that's such a cleaner way to do your policing. Like when you come to the States, it's like you could have a town cop, a city cop, a county police, state police, village police. It's like a rat's nest over here.
I've been around these kind of things, really. I've been fortunate enough that I got family in the States as well, and my parents started taking me to the States when I was like 6 years old, starting then. So I've been to the States way over 10 times by now in my life. And we have police family in the States as well. So I've been exposed to the whole kind of thing very early on. So I know, like, okay, that's the city police. There's a deputy sheriff showing up. There might be feds on some certain level also involved in the situation. It's pretty wild. Yeah, I agree.
It's like the Wild West. That's like a lot of, I've done some traveling to Europe, and I noticed that is kind of, I've been to Scandinavia and then to Belgium and some other places, Spain, and they definitely have that, they kind of look at you like it's the Wild West over here, like kind of just like a mishmash. And they're not wrong. I mean, look what's going on right now.
Well, I think it's kind of a jurisdiction thing a lot of times, like who has jurisdiction over what exactly.
Right.
I don't know how it is exactly, but you must spend quite some time figuring it out actually whose kind of problem this current situation is.
Yeah, there's definitely some growing pains.
Is this a county issue? Is this a city issue? Who's in charge here? Who has to do the paperwork?
And it depends on the issue. If it's like a really complicated traffic crash, then nobody wants it. If it's a high-profile murder, then everybody's trying to get it.
Sure. I mean, we have certain situations like that here in Germany as well. So on a certain level.
You've come over here a few times, you said. Now, am I correct in thinking you spent some time with Cobb County in Georgia?
That is correct.
And were you studying with that, or doing ride-alongs, or what were you doing?
Well, the German, the way our police academy thing works is we go there for 3 years, and it's essentially on a college level, like you leave with a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
In police work. So it's not like they try to make it internationally, but like an international qualification. But since it's such a small niche field, you can only work with the police. There's no other company accepts this kind of degree, but it's a bachelor's degree nonetheless. So you have to write a bachelor's thesis at the end of it. And you can basically pick a subject you want to write the thesis on. Of course, the academy has to agree on it, and you have to have like a sponsor, like a senior officer, who's willing to guide you through it and who's going to grade it as well. And me being I love the States. I really love the States, and I've always been intrigued by police work. Back then, I come from a police family. My wife's a cop, her dad is a cop, my dad was a cop, my mom was a cop.
Oh wow!
It's crazy policing here, yeah. So and we have family in the States that are police. So I was always curious, how does the police training work? We compared my state to Georgia because that's where the family was, and that's where we had the connection to actually. I was able to go to 2 different police academies, one of the city PD. Of actually a Cobb County Police Academy, that's where I was, and the North Central Georgia Law Enforcement Academy, where like all these smaller sheriff departments and bigger ones to some extent just send their deputies, and you have like a mishmash of a bunch of different counties sending their guys there to get post certified. Right.
And did you find that is Germany similar with paramilitary type stuff at their academy?
No. I mean, it really depends. Like some states do it way more different than others. For example, in our state, the police academy is like, it's pretty laid back. You don't have to stay there. You're not in dorm housing or any kind of thing. In Bavaria, it's much, much different. For the 3 years they have it in Bavaria, you're basically in dorm housing there. Everybody has to live on post, if you will. And we don't even have that. It's much more stricter in Bavaria than it is in Hessen, for example.
Okay, it's really interesting how like Europe definitely seems to have just a different, like a much more education based approach. Like a lot of places, I know in Italy and other countries over there, it's the academy is a college. Like you were there for a long time. In America, we seem to do it more of like a very intense short period of time. Like mostly, like some academies are 6, some are a little bit longer, and that's considered long over here. But it's all paramilitary, in your face, high stress, high pressure, and then when you get out, you do the remainder of your learning is in the field or on the job. And you might already have a college degree in something else, but the police academy is more of like a paramilitary, like you saw.
Well, basically what it is in Germany is you start off your training, and then before you even set foot in the school, you go to some police precinct for 1 week. You don't have any uniform, whatever, and you're basically not allowed to do anything. You're just there to observe, to just kind of get a first impression of the police itself. Then you hit the college for 19 weeks, where you have like your first exposure to law, where you have like like there's law and all that kind of stuff. Some PT, not a whole lot. A whole bunch of different classes, ethics and whatnot, different kinds of laws, that kind of thing. And then you have like a basic training kind of thing where you learn to shoot and drive cars and get exposed to police situations for the first time. Like they train you on how to handle domestics, and people shoot guns for the first time in their lives for the most part. And then you go on a 12-week basically field training program where they send you to a precinct and you just do ride-alongs basically. You're fully kitted out, sure, but it's like an extended field training, if you will.
Okay, and this is before the culmination of your 3-year college.
Yeah. That's the first year. That's just the first year.
That makes a lot of sense, because that way you're going to get exposed to police work right away, and they don't waste all this time on you, and then you go, this isn't for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, people get kicked out for a whole bunch of reasons doing these 3 years. Some there's a lot of academic stress because you write tests basically like
Sure.
in any other academy. You can fail a test once. If you fail it twice, you get kicked out. That's it. No questions asked. I had that stress on me myself. Like I failed a test and had to redo it.
Ugh.
And man, that was some stress for me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I still have nightmares about being late or failing a test in police academy and getting in trouble.
Oh yeah, horrible. And then of course, we have a lot of young folks that come straight out of high school, basically. Young folks do stupid shit, get in fights, that kind of thing that just happens.
So you want to be a police officer in Germany. You're 20 years old. What's your first step?
Well, you apply. Basically, you send your informations. Well, in the ideal case, first of all, you go to a website and check out, hey, do I even fit the criteria?
The minimum standards.
Yeah, like the minimum standards. They're not very high at this point. For example, you don't even have to be a German citizen at this point.
Okay.
You don't have to be. You don't even have to be out of a EU country. Of course, you have to be fluent in German language, sure. But for example, if you have the proper paperwork, you could be starting as a cop here. Well, as long as you're like over 5 foot something tall and not older than 36.
Wow, you guys still have physical like height standards there?
Oh yeah.
Oh really? Well, how tall do you have to be?
Hold on, let me. It's 1 meter and 55 centimeters.
Oh, okay.
And hold on, let me convert that.
That's fun. The state police in Massachusetts used to have to be, I think, 6 feet tall, but they found it to be
that's
unconstitutional.
5.08.
Okay, so 5'8",
5 foot something.
Oh yeah, 5 foot something. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't be like super tiny.
Well, my wife is super tiny. She barely made it.
Wow.
So you have to be of a certain height. That's what they want to have out of you, and maximum age is 36 years old, and you have to have a certain high school degree. And
you don't have to be a citizen of Germany. I think that's in LA. You don't have to be a citizen of America. You can be a police officer. I think you need.
I read about that.
Need a green card.
Yeah, there's certain
agencies
that hire you without you being a citizen of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think California Highway does it as well.
Yeah, probably. So right now your current gig is, am I right in thinking it's plainclothes?
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like a crime team or?
Well, I'm in a surveillance unit.
Okay.
We do surveillance jobs for the most part, and drug suppression on the street. It's just plainclothes work. In Germany, it's kind of divided between two sides, the police work. You have the patrol, basically patrol units that ride around in the uniforms and do that kind of thing. And then you have what's called the Kriminalpolizei, and they're basically like the detectives unit that handle, like, say, the fraud division, major crimes, that kind of thing. And it's all broken down to certain case groups.
Okay.
and we're assigned to those guys plain clothes, and you pick before you start your police academy. Basically, how it works is you send in your paperwork, you get invited to do the test, right? Mm-hmm. Then you get put into a room with, like, for me it was 30-something people. They put you in front of a computer. You have to do a test, which covers a whole lot of things. Like there's a writing test, logical thinking, some math, that kind of thing. That's the first cutoff, basically. Normally, more than half of the applicants fail at this point. Next is, hold on, what's next? Sport. A PT test where you have to, like, do bench press and running, some jumping, that kind of thing. After that also kicks out a bunch of people usually. After that, you have like a group thing where it's like 5 or 6 people, and you get a certain task within the group, and you have to work for a solution within the group, and you're being spectated by, I think, 7 or 8 officers and psychologists on how you interact as a group and within the group as a whole. And after that, you have a solo interview with 2 or 3 senior officers where they ask you questions, basically about yourself, about what you expect out of the job, and all that culminates into a certain value, certain number of points you can achieve, and at a certain level of points, you get to pick whether you want to start out as patrol or as detective, which must be wild for you guys in the States, because I was always under the impression that a detective is somewhat superior to the patrol thing.
Yeah, it depends on the area. Some places detective is an assignment given to you by like the chief of police, or some places it's a rank or in LA, it goes like, it kind of branches off, like you're saying, you can stay in patrol and go up through the ranks, or you can get into detective and go up through the ranks. There's kind of 2 separate tracks. But,
right. I mean, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the impression that I had. And a lot of people, like citizens, also have the impression that, hey, detectives, they must be way up higher than patrol officers. Oh my God, it must be very serious when the detectives show up. That kind of thing that always excites the patrol guys. They're basically like with the same rank, they're just like, hey, this is bullshit, with the same kind of guys. And they, as soon as detectives show up, they don't even bother with the patrol people anymore.
So is that more sought after, detective?
I don't know. In my mind, I wouldn't even have it like that. I would have everybody go through the same training, because the training is different from patrol to detective. The emphasis is a different one.
So right from the start, you're being groomed for a different profession. Like later on, if you're a detective down, can you hop over to patrol, or do you have to go through their training? Yep.
You can. You have to have certain qualifications, but that's not a whole big issue. But you can switch in between. Okay. But for example, in the basic police academy thing you do, patrol guys, they have vastly more emphasis on any kind of traffic stuff. Accidents, traffic violations, traffic law. I had like half a year of that, and I couldn't tell you half that happened there. I have no clue about any traffic laws. I mean, sure, I know how to drive and whatnot, but the accidents and who's at fault when, I have no idea. But then again, we also had more emphasis on medical examination and that kind of thing. Criminalistics.
So you're doing a plain clothes thing when you're doing like drug interdiction. Are you guys I'm going to ask you, are you guys armed?
Sure, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
So the German police are armed?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we just got new guns too, which was very nice.
Oh, nice. What kind of guns you guys get?
We phased out the MP5s we had, the H&K MP5s that were assigned to all the cars and units and whatnot. They phased those out because they were from the 70s. Yeah. They're still amazingly good guns. I love that. Great gun. We now got a variant of the HK 416.
I knew you were going to get H&Ks. Why wouldn't you? Heckler and Koch. That's
I know, dude. I don't know. Like, of course, they had to have like this whole thing where companies could apply for the contract and everything. But yeah, they went with H&K. I'm not even sure how many people, how many companies jumped into the fray, so to speak.
Now, do you guys carry sidearms, or is it just rifles?
No, sidearms. With sidearms, we carry H&K P30s.
Okay, gotcha.
And certain units, like SWAT units, they of course they get to pick and choose to a certain extent what they carry, when and how, and where, just like it is in the States, basically.
Gotcha. Now, Jan, like, what would you say, like, coming over here and seeing deputies operate and local police and state police and whatever you saw, compared to Germany, like a German patrolman versus like a U.S. patrolman? What's the biggest thing that was like a biggest glaring difference to you on how their day-to-day is?
Well, first of all, a lot of times in the States, at least the ones I saw, were like the officer was riding by himself, solo patrol, basically. In Germany, that doesn't really happen. There's always at least two people in the car.
Okay.
I mean, in the States, there's much, much more area to cover. I get it. And of course, for example, the tasers just coming around in Germany now for normal patrol units. That's different. And in the US, you have to have a whole different kind of approach to, like, say, a traffic stop, because of how the gun situation is in the United States. Because of the Second Amendment, you have vastly more guns in circulation than we have in Germany. Germany, it's much, much more regulated. So the question in the States isn't really, hey, does the guy have a gun? Yes or no? It's more like, where is the gun at this point?
Right. Especially in the South.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing, I support the Second Amendment. I wish it would be easier in Germany, but then again, some days I was like, hey, you know what? It's not even that bad here. It's okay.
Yeah. You guys have your guns that are assigned to you. Can you carry off duty and everything, or do you have to leave them at the station?
Yes, we can carry off duty.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I just interviewed a Canadian officer who they can't. They have to leave them locked up at the station. I said, geez, that's tough, because everybody knows everybody knows who the cops are. Usually, and to send you home without your piece, it seems cruel almost. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, they can regulate it. For example, they can take your gun away if they feel like you're unfit to carry off duty for whatever reason. They can your boss basically can mandate you surrender the gun at the end of the shift, or they might not even allow it. I think, for example, Berlin, I don't think they can carry off duty. I think that's a different kind of law there.
Oh, okay. So it varies greatly between states.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Gotcha. Okay, that's interesting. Well, Jan, can you tell me about the first hot call you responded to as a police officer in Germany? Mm-hmm.
This was also my first court case. In the end, it was pretty funny. It was during my first field training. I was still in my first year of police college, essentially. And it was it was the first night shift I ever worked.
Wow.
And we were at the station, and the way it was set up, when you're the rookie, basically, you're the third person in the car. There's two senior officers, and since they don't know what they can expect out of you, and what training level you have and how you react to certain situations, you're basically the third guy in the car till they figure out, can this guy even work under stress?
Right.
Rightfully so. They don't know if they can depend on you yet. So we had something like that, and we were at the station, and the one guy from the car was taking a report. So he was with some citizen in the office, just writing down, what was he writing down? Some complaint or something, just like petty crime thing. And then over the dispatch came something about a stabbing at a well-known dive bar. Like, hey, they're fighting and somebody's using a knife as well. So my training officer, he just grabbed me. He's like, hey, we gotta go. We can't wait on him now. We gotta go. So we went, like, we drove there. I was already feeling my adrenaline, starting to pump up.
Sure.
put on the gloves. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
I hope I do all of this right. You have all these certain images in your head, what you're going to do in what situation, but for me, it kind of all went out the window. I was like, oh man, all these plans I had on how to do what and how to do what when, it was all kind of starting to get into a blur. So I put on my gloves, and he was like, I still remember that he told me when we're getting out, they were pepper spraying everybody. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. Well, maybe, look at the whole thing first, but he was like, we're going to pepper spray everybody.
Yeah,
like,
break it up.
So we just got there, and we had a certain description of a guy who was the supposed offender with the knife before, over the radio. So we got there, we got out of the car, and one guy was laying on the ground, he was holding his head, and my field training officer just went to the guy, and I was basically left standing there looking at the situation. There's a bunch of people out in the street, people yapping back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw the guy, like an older gentleman, 50-something years old. He was just picture perfect, description fit him perfectly. You know how sometimes the description, it doesn't really match the whole perp thing?
Yeah.
Say it's described as like some guy that's 6'8" tall, 370 pounds, and the guy you actually see there is like half the size maybe.
Right.
Anyways, this description fit pinpoint on, and he just looked visibly drunk and had his one hand in a pocket and the other hand was just like dangling on the side. So I don't even know why and how I started doing that, but I just grabbed his one arm, just I drove him into a wall and put him in an arm lock there against the wall and just cuffed him immediately.
Wow, that's great. You went right into action.
Yeah, I was like, at this point, I wasn't really thinking. I was just like, oh, that must be him. Holy shit! I better get cuffs on him first. I don't even know what's going on here. And from that point on, after that night, they told me, hey, we saw that you can work. We saw that you can act. You don't freeze up. You can ride as the second guy now. You don't have to ride as a 3-man team anymore. That's
nice.
Cool. Yeah, but that was like the first time.
That's like baptism by fire, man. Like throw you right in the mix.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness it was the right guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank God about that, yeah. And I had a court case about the whole thing because the guy stabbed some other dude, or he tried to stab him, but he got him in the belt. And the guy wore a thick leather belt, and the belt got punctured, but he didn't break the skin of the other dude. And I had to go to court, and they had the belt there laying on the judge's table. And they asked me, like, hey, you're a detective so-and-so. What do you think? Could the knife have punctured the belt, and what would have happened? I told him, I was like, look, I don't know. I don't know anything about leather structure. I'm still in training. I don't know what you want from me.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see, yeah, he punctured it. I don't know. It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
So that's interesting, Jane. You guys are very much, you're going to police college, as it were, but you're very much getting on hands-on training at the same time. That's really cool.
Oh, it's a great system, really. I mean, you learn certain techniques. That's what really surprised me in the States, by the way. I was there when they taught defensive training or defensive tactics for like 2 or 3 days, and there was a whole training. And I was like, oh, man, that's really a whole lot.
Yeah, a lot of the southern academies, police academies, are shorter. I've noticed they're more abbreviated.
I think it was at North Central. I think it was 16 weeks.
That's
and that it was. I remember when I wrote the thesis, it's the absolute minimum for post certification.
16. Yeah, the one I went to in Massachusetts was 21 weeks. And I think California is like, I think the most California police are 25 weeks and higher, but 16 is, right. It sounds like the minimum.
Yeah, it was the minimum. And like in DT, they have like a very, very big emphasis on wrist locks and arm locks and this kind of thing. And for example, in Hessen, you do jiu-jitsu to a certain belt level, and you keep doing it throughout the whole years. And
That's
there's
smart.
usually we have a great guy actually at the police academy. He's a BJJ black belt, runs his own team off the academy as well, and he's a great teacher. Can learn a lot from him about BJJ and the ground game as it is essentially.
Wow, it's Germany does things right, man. You guys are smart as hell over there. I mean, it's from your engineering to your animal breeding. Like, you guys are very, very dialed in when you do something. It's my wife is really into, not to get off track here, but she's really into horses. She competed collegiately. Right. She drives she taught horseback dressage, and I remember going to a show where they competed against another college in Massachusetts, and their captain was from Germany, and really interesting woman. But I guess the horses in Germany are just stellar. Same with there's really strict standards for like dogs and purebred animals.
Very much so. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just you can kind of see that whole mentality shining through with your police training. You know, it's very cool.
Yeah, it's like with animals. There's people get crazy. Like there's breeding clubs for bunnies, really, and they take it
really
super serious. Like,
wow.
Like, hey, no bullshit.
Yeah, I believe you.
Super serious. It's like a bunch of old guys, like 70-year-olds, like way, way retired. That's all they do.
Wow.
The guy's got like 40, 50 bunnies at his house, and just, looking for the perfect bunny, take him on the shows and whatnot. But yeah, dogs, also big kind of thing. But yeah, coming back to the DT thing, that's what an instructor in the States, I talked with him about the whole thing. And he was pissed about it, actually, because he said, well, that's the whole problem here.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the taser, and that's all they use. Like, the taser comes out very, very quick. In an altercation, they would just want to tase whoever they have a problem with there, basically, in a situation that's probably should have been more hands-on, and then the taser fails, and then they panic.
Yeah, and the taser fails 50% of the time. So yeah, it's not a guarantee.
I'm not even taser certified. I got tased in the States, did it for the coin.
Yeah.
But they're starting to come up here with the taser now.
It's a good tool, but it's like, I kind of saw it. They introduced it to me after I'd been on the job 5 or 6 years. So we'd been just using batons and stuff, but now it's like the new guys, like it's almost too many tools. Like their belts are packed with all these tools. Where we always, the department I worked at, we always went hands on before we went to taser. And I think that's because we didn't have them to start. We just kind of were more into just muckling people rather than getting and the pepper spray. For me, I'm a redhead, so pepper out of the can for me is like daylight to a vampire. It's like if that gets on my skin, I'm like pink.
You're done. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Brutal.
Yeah, but batons, like I feel bad when I have had somebody with a baton. Because with our batons, man, those things are straight lead pipes, basically. They're expendable, sure.
Yeah.
But they're thick. Holy crap, they're thick.
I had the same thought, Jan, in Police Academy. When they told us at what point we could use the baton on someone, I was like, really? That's it? You can whack somebody with a baton at that level? I always thought it was a little bit shocking.
Yeah. Plus, like, I've yet to strike somebody with full power with the baton. Because it's just like, oh man, like I'm a thick guy myself. If I hit somebody full on force with the metal baton, it's not going to be pretty. It's really not going to be pretty. Yeah,
I mean, they told us in the academy, someone squares off with you or makes a threatening stance, get your baton out, smash his knuckles, hit him in the legs. It's like, wow, that is pretty hardcore. There was guys
here, for the most part here, you just have to like take it out and extend it, and just the sound, like this metal sound, like over the extending, they're like, yep. All right.
Yeah, done. I'm good.
Yep. Don't need it.
Jan, can you tell us about your strangest or most bizarre call so far in your career?
Most bizarre calls. After my police academy thing, you get sent into a certain police precinct, whatever. For me, it was the biggest city in our state with the biggest police department in our state. A lot of people, like I would say, 70% out of the academy graduates go there because they have just like they need so many people.
Okay, major city.
Top crime city in Germany, as a matter of fact. And I was there with the unit, detectives unit. That's basically like detective first responders. They're there on call at the precinct 24/7. in different shifts, basically. And anything that's major crimes, you go. Like anything that's not a patrol issue, patrol calls you, and you have to go there, which for the most part is dead bodies. I would say 70%, which are ruled by a doctor as unnatural or unknown cause of death. You have to
Makes sense.
basically go there, examine the bodies, the whole thing.
Okay.
You have to do a whole medical examination, or then higher profile crimes, of course, murder, big robberies, and major crimes. And I remember I think I'm the only detective to respond to a dead body call that was not on German soil anymore. It was on international soil. I can't go into detail on whose soil it actually was on.
Oh, really?
It was a whole diplomatic issue of somebody committing suicide, and it was basically it wasn't even German jurisdiction anymore. But they called the police. They wanted the police there. And it was cut and clear case, but it was a whole different kind of situation because it was an international matter at this point.
Interesting.
It was very, very interesting. That ahead, yeah.
What was the means what was the means of their end?
Jumping from a high place.
Oh, really? Did they stay intact or did they explode?
It's perfectly intact, which was very wild. When I remember arriving at the scene, I was looking at concrete floor, and I know how many floors they covered with the foil. I was like, oh man,
yeah, it's gonna be nasty.
It ain't gonna be pretty. It was perfectly intact. I mean, of course, when you touch them, you feel like it's all jello basically, but it was the hull itself perfectly intact.
Wow. I used to when I worked for LAPD background unit. There was a gentleman there, an Italian gentleman who all kinds of different law enforcement worked there from around everywhere, but he worked for Interpol, in Italy. And I wish I'd asked him more questions because, thought to grab his info to have him on this podcast at some point because, I don't really know anything about Interpol. And the reason I'm asking is because you said it was an international thing. Does Interpol, would they be involved in something like that? Is that something they would do?
I don't believe so. If it's on diplomatic grounds, basically, the country or the institution, whoever it belongs to, can basically tell who they want there and who they don't want there. That's what our boss told us. Like, hey, remember now, if you go there, if they tell you to fuck off, just go. You don't have any jurisdiction there. You don't have any say over anything that happens there. Just roll with it and see what goes on. And if they tell you to stop, you stop. That's it.
Interesting. So it sounds like it was on some kind of sovereign ground within Germany or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotcha. I understand.
And with the dead body calls, so many dildos. Oh my God, so many dildos.
Dildos in Germany. It's like whenever a comedy movie is in Germany, they always have to throw in some kind of S&M scene with a crazy dildo. What's going on over there, Jen?
I don't know. I wish it was just a cliche, but apparently it's the truth. I've seen so many. It's really bizarre, and in what kind of situations at some point, really wild.
Wow. Yeah, it's I know what you mean. I've been to some death scenes before where I'm like, I just think to myself, man, you never know how you're gonna go, and you really hope it doesn't look like this. This stuff isn't happening. Where
people arrive and you get found, and it just looks all kinds of ways, but just very funky.
Wow. Does one stand out in your mind specifically that involves this funkiness?
Minor celebrity in Germany. He had died in a hotel, I believe it was.
Oh, was it David Carradine?
No. I don't think you remotely know who I'm talking about there.
Okay.
It's really, really minor celebrity inside of Germany. I would be highly surprised if anybody outside Germany knew him at all.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He got found within, I think it was a shower, and it was just this humongous dildo next to him, and he was a very, very tough guy portrayed outside of whatever he did in that bathroom.
Oh, really? Wow, that is so weird. Man, being a cop, it doesn't matter where it is. You are going to see everybody's most intimate and embarrassing moments.
Yeah, you're gonna see some wild stuff. I mean, I've been at scenes where parents found out that their kid killed themselves.
Ooh.
Horrific. I remember one where a girl also jumped to her death because of some interfamily issue, and I was up in the apartment, still figuring some stuff out. Just taking some evidence, basically taking pictures of the scene where she jumped from, the whole kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, downstairs, which was like at least 20-something meters and say 30 meters away from the house, her father got told that she's dead. And that I still remember that scream in my ears. Ooh. That was a horrific, just toe curling scream.
Yeah.
Of the man just finding out his kid killed herself. Yeah, that kind of thing. Also, people that just lost a lot of money to fraud. Old people.
It's devastating.
Yeah, just horrible.
I had one back home where I'm so thankful that I was. It was one of my first death notifications, so the sergeant kind of took the lead with it, and another agency called us and said, you gotta. It was a kid, in his 20s. You got to go tell the dad, single dad.
Yeah.
And also it was a trooper on the other line. He was like, I hate to do this to you, but kind of need to positively identify, like we're sure it's him, it was his wallet and all that, but can you just ask him if he had this tattoo on his shoulder, which means that his son is horribly disfigured. So the guy's like, could you go tell the dad and also tell him that it was horrible, and we can't even identify his face. It was like, my heart sank, and of course it was like 3 a.m. we're waking this guy up. And same thing, Jan. He hit, it couldn't have been more dramatic. He hit the kitchen floor on his knees with his arms open to God, screaming. And I was like, that was one of the worst feelings of my life. Brutal.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's horrific.
Oof. Yeah, plus, that's tough.
Plus, we have, like, at some point in Germany, you have also cultural differences there. For example, well, what you said, basically, first of all, if family arrives at the scene and they say, like, oh, we want to say goodbye to the person, and you're like, what the person looks like. Maybe he's decomposed to a certain extent, and you're like, I don't know. You're not going to see him at this point. Just, keep him in mind like you saw him last. I don't have a good feeling letting you to the deceased person. Or, for example, different religions. When the police is involved in that kind of thing, the body, however it's going to go, is treated as evidence, and the district attorney has to decide when the body can be released to, say, a funeral home. With Muslims, for example, they have their burial rituals, and they're very, very strict about them. Who can touch the body when? Right. Certainly not a woman. And we've had sticky situations there where, like, hey, we're not going to surrender the body. And we're like, yeah, you are. And where it's like, it kind of, got back and forth. And you have to find that one guy that still has reason and talk to him like, hey, look, man, this is, it's a bad situation as it is. It's really going to get worse. Please, we don't want to do this, but we have to do this. Talk to your people and see we get this over with in a civil matter. You have that guy laying there and you're discussing who gets, who can take him home, essentially.
Yeah, that's interesting because there has been a pretty big Muslim influx in Germany, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
And that's actually that's happened in the States, a few areas too, like Maine, believe it or not, area in Maine has had a huge influx, and it's like you do, as a police officer, you have to learn a whole new set of norms and culture and, yeah, man, that's I never even thought about that.
We have classes on that, actually, how to interact with different cultures, as to not offend anybody, for example. You don't want to, like this, you come to a certain call and in their cultural way that they are, some things are acceptable, some are not.
Right.
For example, if you just say you're tossing somebody's apartment, there's a search warrant, you're looking for drugs, whatever. And, of course, drug warrants, the place gets turned upside down for the most part. And the guy's sitting there and everything's cool, but then somebody just starts tossing around his prayer rug or the Quran or something. Of course, it's going to tip him off to the fullest extent.
Right.
So you have to be like wary of these kind of situations and know how to move around in that.
Yeah, it's one more hurdle for you guys to navigate. Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't call it hurdle. It's just something to be aware of. Everybody has their religion and their right to their own religion. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want my religion to be basically disrespected. So.
Yeah, but you can't move to a new country and expect somebody of a totally different culture to know your religious beliefs. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You got to be kind of reasonable.
Sure. It's for both sides need to make sacrifices in their own little ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Jan, can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying call?
Intense call, yeah. When I was back in Frankfurt on the surveillance team there, it was more of a quote-unquote high-profile surveillance where you had actual cases that worked over years to a certain point, with surveillance warrants and the whole 9 yards, the whole surveillance thing that gets attached to it. And we were tracing a burglar. Some guys that break and enter basically into businesses.
Okay.
That's what they did, and they did it almost all over Germany. So the surveillance was all over Germany as well. And we were trailing them one night. It looked pretty good. We knew they hadn't done something in quite a while, so they probably needed money, and they probably needed it on the weekend. So they were out and about, driving around, scouting out places. And then they found, or in some way they wound up at a gas station near some industrial complex next to some train tracks. Just, isolated gas station, all lights turned off, nothing going on in there. And we figured hey, it looks pretty good for them. They might, actually go for it here at this point. And they knew what they were doing. So my boss told me, hey, we got to get some eyes on that gas station in some way. And I had a thermal imager with me, and he sent me up on the train tracks.
Oh, very cool. Sounds like a movie.
So I was up on the train tracks trying to get close to the gas station. I had to walk 400 yards maybe.
Okay.
Over the train tracks. I talked to the guys on the radio. I was like, hey, make sure these tracks are closed, please. Just call whoever you need to call at the train people, and just, find out if there's actual trains running here, because I'm not stepping foot on those if there's trains running here.
Yeah, hell no.
Because you get tunnel vision and you don't hear it, and it just goes bad. So I got there next to the gas station at some point, and it was down a little hill. I looked up onto the gas station. I was like, can't see anything. Damn. But the way the train tracks were, was making some sounds, a little bit. Just shuffling little rocks around, stepping around.
Okay, and it's dark, so you can't see that well.
It's dark. I was just looking through the thermal imager.
Right.
You can't really make out a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, and when you're in the woods, a squirrel sounds like a bear.
Yeah, but the next thing I know, I turned my head, I was looking down the train tracks. And as I saw them, I saw 3 guys on the train tracks. And at that moment, they yelled out to me hey, what are you doing? I'm like, fuck, those must have been the guys, because we lost track of where they were exactly. I was like, fuck. And then I was like, I just turned around, started running, and then I heard them run after me. So I was like, shit. I was running back to the car, at least the direction, trying to get other people on the radio. Hey, I might need some backup here.
Yeah.
But what we found out later is they thought I was basically stealing metal from the train tracks. But they were, in fact, they were our burglars, but they thought I was just also some random guy stealing.
Hey, we're the ones stealing stuff around here. Get out of here.
Yeah, something like that. They were just trying to figure out who I was, and I was scared shitless. I was just running through the dark. I had no flashlight on me, no nothing. I heard them running after me. I was like,
oh man.
Guys told me, they were like, oh man, you sounded like pure panic. I was like, I had pure panic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was scared, man.
Of course. Who knows what they would do to you?
We got them the next night. It was pretty funny, actually.
Did you have an opportunity to talk with them about that?
No. The way it worked, basically, we had the division who was in charge of breaking and entering, and our unit just worked for them. They outsourced the surveillance to us, basically. They contacted us, hey, we have these guys, we want them surveilled and, if possible, arrested by you guys. And basically, you just, at the end of it, you just arrested them, waited for the other guys, just turned them over. You never saw them again in your life, which was a pretty sweet deal. Yeah,
it's like an away game. No heavy paperwork for you guys.
I mean, sure, you have to write a arrest report, but it's really not all that compared to other paperwork that's attached to some cases, I'm sure you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems like everything in police work now is paperwork.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's forms, and it feels like even if you just need to order some paper clips or some stuff, you have to fill out 5 forms for those. Make sure everybody signs off on that.
Yeah. Jan, something just popped into my head. I used to go for dog walks back in Massachusetts when my wife and I lived there. We go to this dog park, and I made friends with this very nice older German couple. And they were from Germany but had come here years ago. But their family was still living in Germany, and his son was a police officer. I wish I could remember his name or the area, but I don't. Anyways. We would chat about police work because I told him I was a cop, and we would chat. Like, we saw him there a handful of times. We'd go walking together with our dogs. And he was saying, as far as he knew, in Germany, for a police officer to shoot his gun at someone, he pretty much had to be shot at first. Now,
I wouldn't say that, no.
Is that an exaggeration?
Yeah, that's an exaggeration. I mean...
Like, where is your lethal threat?
If I feel that my life or my colleague's life or somebody else's life there at this point is threatened to that's a full-blown threat to their life, I can take the necessary precautions and the necessary force to deal with it.
You just need to be able to justify it later.
It has to be absolutely justified, sure, rightfully so.
Sure.
And but there's not a whole lot of guns in circulation in Germany. There might be, well, there might be more guns in circulation, but people can't really carry them. The people that can legally carry a gun in Germany is a very, very small number of people. And they usually, even those that have guns, like sporting licenses or hunting licenses, they don't normally carry guns. What's more of a thing is like people with knives. But if somebody with the knives is in front of me, that's also already a reason to get the gun out, basically.
Right, you could shoot someone with a knife if they're threatening you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe his dad was like, maybe someone's complaining to his dad about some situation, and the dad kind of was, taking it out of context.
Yeah, it could be, but you don't have to get shot at first.
Yeah, I thought that sounded crazy.
It's a credible threat for your life. You can do that.
Got it. All right. He
was
as
long as it's justified.
Very cool guy, and he gave me a sticker with a D in the middle of it. I put it on my truck, even though I'm pretty much
nice.
an Irishman. I was driving around town for a few years with a D, and of course it meant Deutschland.
Right. I got it.
You said
it was like a white sticker with the black letter.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I remember those from back when.
All right, so those are a thing over there as well.
They were, yeah. They were when I was younger. Not anymore, because now you have the D basically on your license plate. You don't have to put it as a sticker on the car.
Oh, so it was actually part of your registration.
Yeah. Well, you had to have it if you drive outside of Germany.
Oh, okay.
You had to have the sticker on the car.
Yeah, he said Germany wasn't really even a word. He said Deutschland is what it's actually called. Or he said something like that.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay,
that's correct.
That's cool. So Jan, can you reach down deep and find a positive, or dare I say, heartwarming encounter in your police career?
We have a certain phenomenon of crime in Germany which targets older people. they get calls.
Oh yeah.
They basically get cold called by somebody, and it's like, hey, this is so and so from the police. We just arrested a burglar in your neighborhood, and he has your address already, like a note with your address in his pocket, and we just need to make sure he doesn't break into your place. Listen, the way this is going to go, we're going to send somebody, take all your valuables, and keep them safe with us.
Oh man,
it's horrible. It's really horrible.
Bastards.
And like old people that still have a very solid trust in the police, they get scared, of course. And they're like, oh shit, oh man, yeah, I better do what they tell me. They don't question anything. And old people have a lot of money at home.
Right.
Some do at least. And we were following some guys that did that. And I remember I arrested somebody that just came out of a grandpa's place, like an old man's place. And he had like the value he was carrying was around 100K euros, like 100,000 euros.
Oh my goodness.
Of gold coins and cash money and all that kind of thing.
Oh, Jen, how good did that feel?
I got to blast him in front of the place. Like I lit him up pretty good. I'm a big dude. I lit him up pretty good.
Great.
And have that money, returned to that old gentleman that must have worked very, very hard and saved a lot of money over the course of his life.
Oh man. Yeah.
And for me it was heartbreaking to see like when old people got basically ripped off in this way because they had such a profound trust in the police that they didn't even question it. What was happening, and that broke my heart when those people thought they gave their money to the police and they got told, hey, listen, all your life savings, that's gone. That's not coming back anymore.
Oh, man, that is
And I've seen like
awful.
old ladies that were absolutely sure they did the right thing. They were certain of it. I talked with them for hours. They wouldn't I couldn't convince them that the money is gone. They said, no, they're going to bring it back. They told me.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you break that to someone? And having prevented that, I'm sure there's like thousands of cases where, it couldn't be prevented. But that one time where I could actually prevent it, that felt really, really good.
Oh, I bet, man. Yeah, we used to get the same thing. I remember once we had an older couple held up in their house for a week because they got an email. And the email, you can go online and you can pay a service like TransUnion or something, type in someone's name and address, and it will give you your social security number, cars they drive, where every place they've ever lived, their phone numbers. It will give you a relational chart of their relatives. All this stuff is attainable online.
That's crazy. That doesn't work in Germany at all.
Yeah, so you can do that here. And so I got this call at the station. I was just working day shift, and it was like this woman's daughter describing the situation. Well, somebody had started doing this scam where they write to the people and they say like, hey, it really saddens me, but I've been hired to kill you. And with my boss, there's no way out of these contracts except if I can get him more money than the contract price on you. And this really goes back to a long time ago, something that, you and your husband were involved in. It was really creepy. And then he goes on to mention, he goes, I've been staked out, and if I see that silver Corolla leave the driveway, if you pull out of the intersection of Long Pond Road and Beachfront, I'm going to have no choice but to kill you. So they add all these details in they got from their online report. And it really, if you're north of 80 and your faculties are like a mixture of like being very trustworthy, wholesome person mixed in with like slipping a little bit, it creates the perfect storm of terror. Like these people had not left their house for a week and their kids couldn't convince them that it wasn't going to, you know what I mean? They were like, no, they're going to come kill us. But those people who do that stuff, Jan, should be flogged.
I agree.
Their skin should be stripped from their back with a cat of nine tails.
It's horrible. It's really, really horrible. Like old people, that worked hard their whole lives, just, saved money because probably they don't want to fall on somebody else's shoulders when they're old, maybe saved up for the grandkids or whatever. It's the lowest of lows to go after these people.
Disgusting.
They had like different kinds of this scam, like where, hey, somebody, they looked through the phone books, like the old school phone books. Remember those? The paper phone books? And they just pick out like the oldest sounding name. You know how some names just sound old?
Like Ethel or something?
Yeah, exactly. So they call Ethel and they say, hey, Ethel, do you know who this is? And of course, Grandma, she's like, oh, Peter, is that you? And it's like, yeah, Peter, it's Peter. Hey, Ethel, and blah, blah, blah. Hey, listen, I just bought a house and it's a really, really great deal. I just need, the lawyer needs this, 20,000 in cash. Can you help me out, Ethel? Please, it's your boy Peter. They take these little details out of them, and they don't even know they're giving up these details.
Oh, disgusting.
It's different kind of scams, and against old people, it's just horrible.
It makes me happy, Jan. I like your story. A large German police officer throttled someone over it. It's perfect.
I played football for don't let me get this wrong, 15 years up to semi-pro level in Germany. So I can lay a guy out. I can do it.
That's good. I'm sure the guys you work with appreciate that.
Oh yeah, it was good. It felt really good.
I can hear it in your voice. Jan, do you have any, this might be kind of a weird one, but do you have any advice for young officers? I mean, I don't know. We do get some actual listeners in Germany. I know that from the demographics I get from the company here. But I'd probably be universal advice for anybody wanting to be a police officer. Do you have any gems, any pearls of wisdom? You could call it wisdom, maybe, I guess. Just be sure on why you want to join, and then remember why you joined. It's not a profession you should do, because the money is good. Right. At least that's what I think. It's not something you get in because they have great benefits. You should believe in the whole thing. You have to have a certain mindset. At least that's what I believe to be a police officer. And of course, you should listen to older police officers, but don't take anything and everything they say as like the golden knowledge, the gold standard. Right.
Sure. Listen, and they have their stories to tell and their experiences to share with you, but not everything they say and they did like the old ways is really something that should be done still today.
Right. Don't take it as gospel.
But really, for the most part, remember why you signed up. They actually, when we started as the police in ethics class, I believe it was ethics class, they had us write down on a single piece of paper why we joined the police. Actually, hold on, I still have that in my wallet. Hold on.
Really? Break it out.
I still have. Yeah, I will. I'm grabbing it right now. My wife's looking at me like crazy. The dog's also confused. Doesn't matter.
Is this like a little paragraph you wrote?
Well, it's something. It's something you decide for yourself.
I have some music to play if you want to read it.
Hold on. Yeah, here's it. It says, I joined the police because I want to stand in for the law of Germany, and I want to defend it. I want to help people that need my help, whether they know it or they don't. I want to protect people that can't protect themselves anymore. I will stand in for what's right in the world. That's what I wrote back then. I still have it in my wallet.
It's beautiful. I love it. Did you hear the German national anthem I played?
I didn't, but I'm sure you did.
Oh, I played it. I meant it to be.
Yeah, but it's something at this point when we did it, I was like, oh man, it's some stupid stuff. I want to go and learn how to shoot a gun and all kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, it becomes important a couple years down the road when you start feeling burnt out,
It does. I've had some points in my career where I was like, it wasn't always pretty, especially all these. I've seen a lot of dead bodies, like really a lot. And some you take home with you. For some, you actually got offered psychological help. When you had some cases that stood out, that got media attention, whatnot. We have a good support system with the police. Like they contact you. We have our own psychological support unit. They contact you like, hey, we know something happened. Just, if you want to talk about it, you can. Feel free. Contact us anytime you want. No problem. And we also had within our unit a great support. You could talk about anything. We did a lot of times. You could tell when somebody, at the end of the shift was still feeling it, still, mentally involved in the case. And we sat down just as a group and we talked it out, made some stupid jokes about stuff. Of course, you know how it is.
Oh, yeah.
Cope with laughter.
Sure.
Normal people can't laugh about these things. You learn how to do it, and it's the way to cope with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's humor is always the big coping mechanism for police, it seems, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean you learn a dark sense of humor too, but it really helps. At least for me, it did, and every cop I know it did.
Absolutely. Well, Jan, I really appreciate coming on, man. I really appreciate taking the time. I know it's late over there, and man, this was a lot of fun. I feel like I learned a lot about German policing, and you had some great stories, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on here. Absolutely, it was great being here.
Maybe
I always love the exchange between police officers. I was in the States in September. Me and my wife and another couple that are also both police officers, and we traveled on the West Coast. We did all the national parks.
Oh, cool! That's awesome.
And we drove around, and we wound up in Phoenix actually. And one evening, the one guy and me were like, "Hey." The girls were pretty spent, they were just hanging out at the Airbnb, and we were like, hey, we're going to go get a beer. Like, we don't know the city. We have no clue. But we're like, hey, we're just going to go out and see where we end up. So we bar hopped a little here and there, just, got recommendations from the barkeepers at each place and just walked around there. And we wound up at some dive bar to a certain point. So we sat down at the bar, ordered beer, had some nachos. So a guy just stumbles up next to us and he starts talking to us. He's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, what are you guys doing here? We're like, well, we're eating nachos. What about you? He's like, well, I'm drinking beer. We're like, yeah, cool.
Like a man.
Yeah, but then again, he was like, well, you guys are not from, you're not from around here. We're like, no, we're not. He's like, well, I'm a cop. It's cool.
Oh,
so
man.
we're like, well, no shit, we're cops too, but we're German cops. He's like, no way. So he basically grabbed us, yanked us out of there to a booth where him and two other cops were sitting, and we just started drinking with them and shared stories and experiences. And
oh, it's awesome.
It was great. It was instant camaraderie.
Yes.
Which was really cool. And I experienced that every time I was in the States and had like a police interaction. I always try to have some, see if I can talk to an officer or stop by a department or something, at least trade a patch,
Absolutely.
something like that. And
that's a big thing.
It's been really cool. It's been really, really cool. Every time you have an exchange, people are excited to hear stories from other countries or, share experiences. We talked about training and stuff. It was really great. Great experiences, great exchanges.
That's awesome, man. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a common thing you can use around the world, wherever you go.
Oh yeah. It just works. You have instant, I wouldn't call it chemistry, but instant,
camaraderie.
Everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same everywhere. All right, brother. Hey, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Right.
And I hope in the future we can perhaps have you back.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely. Anytime. I would gladly be on. It was really cool. Thank you for the experience. My first time being on any podcast whatsoever. I hope I didn't bomb it in a way.
No, you were great, man. People are going to love it. I guarantee you.
All right. Awesome. I'll check it out. See what kind of reactions we get.
All right, brother.
All right. So, enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You
it's
as
probably
well.
Just starting over there, huh?
Yeah. Well, we're at, it's like 1 p.m. So I'm sure the wife's got a bunch of stuff for me to do.
Oh yeah. All
All right, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy and stay safe.
You too.
See ya.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you love the show and you want to show some support, you can go to thingspolicec.com and click the donate button. We are 100% listener funded, so if you've been enjoying all the content we provide, we surely appreciate the support. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.